The day my sister smiled in the lawyer's office, I knew I'd already lost. I just didn't know yet that one forgotten document would eventually take everything back. I never thought I'd be the kind of man who would measure his family in paperwork and signatures. Growing up, inheritance was an abstract idea, something adults whispered about after funerals, not something that shaped relationships while people were still breathing. But when our father died, the house we grew up in turned into a battlefield, and my sister and I stopped being siblings and became opponents. My name is Daniel. I'm a younger one. Always was. My sister, Karen, was older by 4 years, sharper, louder, and far more comfortable speaking for other people. She had that natural authority that made teachers listen and relatives nod, even when she was wrong. I was the quiet one, the observer, the kid who learned early that staying calm often meant staying invisible. Our father raised us alone after our mother died. He worked long hours, fixed things himself, and believed deeply in fairness. Equal doesn't always mean the same, he used to say, but it always means honest. I believed that sentence like it was a law of nature. Karen, I later learned, believed it was flexible. When Dad got sick, it happened fast. One diagnosis, then another opinion, then suddenly there were pills on the kitchen counter and hospital visits that smelled like disinfectant and endings. Karen moved back into the house immediately. She said it was to help, and maybe part of it was, but she also took over everything: appointments, finances, conversations with doctors. I lived 2 hours away, working a job I couldn't afford to lose, and I trusted her. That trust would cost me years. Dad died on a Tuesday morning. I remember because the sun was bright in a way that felt disrespectful. At the funeral, Karen held my hand and cried loudly. People told me how strong she was, how lucky Dad was to have her. I nodded and swallowed my grief because that's what I had always done. 2 weeks later, we sat in a lawyer's office. The will was read calmly, professionally, like it was nothing more than a grocery list. The house, the savings, the small investment account, everything went to Karen. I received a personal item, Dad's old watch. The same watch he used to take off and place on the table every night before dinner. I didn't understand at first. I actually thought I'd misheard. I asked the lawyer to repeat it. He did. Karen squeezed my arm and whispered, "I'm so sorry," without looking at me. I felt embarrassed for even being surprised. My father, who taught fairness like religion, had left me almost nothing. It didn't make sense. But grief has a way of making you doubt yourself before you doubt others. I asked Karen later, privately. She said Dad had changed the will after I moved away. She said he felt abandoned. She said he knew she'd take care of things. Every sentence was coded in sympathy, and every word felt rehearsed. I wanted to believe her, so I did. The house sold within 3 months. Karen moved into a newer place, closer to the city. I returned to my small apartment, carrying a watch that felt heavier than it should have. I told myself money didn't matter. I told myself family mattered more. Those lies helped me sleep. Years passed. We didn't talk much. Birthday texts, holiday messages that felt like obligations. I watched from a distance as Karen upgraded her life. New car, vacations, renovations. I struggled quietly. Not disastrously, but enough to notice the difference between us growing wider. Then one afternoon, everything shifted because of a box. I was cleaning out my apartment, preparing to move again, when I found a small envelope tucked inside an old backpack. It had been years since I'd opened it. Inside was a folded letter and a copy of a document I didn't recognize. The letter was from Dad. It wasn't long. His handwriting was shaky but clear. He apologized for not always saying things out loud. He said he was proud of both of us, but that he worried Karen's confidence would someday turn into control. He wrote that he believed I would always do the right thing, even when it hurt me. Then came the sentence that made my chest tighten. I've made arrangements to ensure fairness, even if I'm not there to explain it. The document attached was a trust amendment, dated 6 months before his death. Signed, witnessed, legal. It split everything evenly. My hand started shaking. I read it again and again, searching for a flaw, a misunderstanding. But it was clear. This wasn't a draft. It wasn't a note. It was valid, which meant only one thing. Karen had known. I didn't sleep that night. I sat on the floor until sunrise, replaying every conversation, every look, every carefully chosen word she'd fed me. The grief I thought I'd processed came back sharper, angrier. This wasn't just about money anymore. It was about betrayal, deliberate and cold. The next morning, I called a lawyer. He confirmed what I feared and hoped at the same time. The trust amendment was enforceable. The will Karen presented had been superseded. It had never been filed. When I asked how that could happen, he paused. Someone would have had to withhold it. I asked what my options were. He said, "You can challenge it, but be prepared. This will get ugly." I hung up and stared at the wall for a long time. Part of me wanted to walk away, to let her have it, to stay the quiet younger brother. But another part, why I didn't recognize it first, was tired of being invisible. I filed the challenge. Karen called me the same day. She was served. She didn't scream. She didn't cry. She laughed. "You're really doing this?" she said. After all these years, I told her I found Dad's document. Silence. Then her voice changed. Flat. Calculated. She said I wouldn't win. She said I'd ruin what little family we had left. She said Dad would be ashamed. That was the moment something inside me finally settled. The court process took months. Depositions, emails, bank records, evidence that painted a picture I hadn't wanted to see. Karen had accessed Dad's files after his death. She had removed the trust amendment. She had instructed the lawyer to proceed without it. She never denied it outright. She just kept saying she did what she thought was best. When the judge ruled, it was swift. The assets were to be redistributed. Karen was ordered to repay my share, plus penalties. Her expression didn't crack when the decision was read, but her hands clenched so tightly I could see the tension in her arms. Afterward, she didn't speak to me. She walked past like I was a stranger. The money came eventually, not all at once, but enough. Enough to change my life in practical ways, yes, but more importantly, enough to change how I saw myself. I didn't feel victorious. I felt clarified. I realized the inheritance was never the point. The document didn't just change the outcome, it changed the story I'd been telling myself about who I was. I wasn't overlooked. I wasn't less loved. I had been lied to. The watch still sits on my desk. I wear it sometimes, not because it's valuable, but because it reminds me that fairness sometimes waits quietly, hidden in a box, until you're ready to face it. Karen and I don't talk anymore. Maybe someday we will. Maybe we won't. I've learned that peace doesn't always come from reconciliation. Sometimes it comes from truth. If this story resonated with you, if you've ever felt sidelined, underestimated, or quietly wronged, don't ignore that feeling. Ask questions. Look closer. And if you want to hear more real stories like this, stories about hidden truths and the moments that change everything, take a second to support this journey. Your engagement keeps these stories alive, and sometimes sharing them helps someone else find the document they didn't know they were missing.